Diddy is facing a significant shakeup in his legal team as he prepares for his federal case, scheduled to go to court in less than 3 months. One of his attorneys, Anthony Rico, has filed documents this morning officially withdrawing from the case. In the filing, Rico explained that he can no longer effectively represent Diddy, citing his inability to continue fulfilling his duties as counsel for Diddy, also known as Sherlock Holmes. Rico emphasized that his decision is based on a conflict with the ABA standards for criminal justice, which require attorneys to provide competent and effective representation. This move has raised questions about the stability of Diddy's defense team as his trial approaches. The timing of this withdrawal could potentially complicate his preparations, leaving the rapper and entrepreneur with the task of finding new legal representation quickly to ensure his defense is ready for the upcoming court proceedings.
Obviously pretty shocking with, his trial approaching just a few months away, but obviously it's not his lead counsel, but we're told, we spoke to some people that are familiar with the case, and essentially the reason why he bailed was that he just had no relationship with Diddy and just felt like he wasn't close enough to him to effectively defend him in this case.
In the documents recently filed, the individual mentioned that he needed to keep his explanation brief to avoid violating attorney-client privilege. However, the situation described seems to suggest that there may have been some obstruction, either from a person or an issue, preventing him from getting as close to Diddy as needed to gather essential information for an effective defense. While this is the impression we are getting, the exact details are still unclear. This leaves many wondering whether the situation implies a lack of belief in Diddy's innocence. Some might conclude that this complicates the case, but it's important to note that, in court, he cannot explicitly state these things, as it would breach legal boundaries. Instead, the public is left to speculate, and many are forming their own interpretations. We also spoke to sources close to Diddy who clarified that, contrary to some reports, they don't believe the situation is dire. They express confidence, stating that the legal team, led by Mark AGNF and Tenny Gogos, has been handling the case for nearly a year without any significant change. Their statement was that there is nothing to worry about and that the case will proceed as planned, with no delays. The trial is still set to begin in the first week of May, and it is expected to be an intense and high-profile event. There is a lot of public curiosity surrounding this case, but insiders suggest that the legal team is prepared and moving forward. In another matter, the focus has shifted to Prince Harry and his U.S. visa application, which is about to be partially released to the public. A federal judge has ruled that the Department of Homeland Security can release significant portions of the documents, although there will be some redactions to protect sensitive information. This move has stirred up a lot of interest, particularly because of the public's desire to scrutinize Prince Harry's past. The key issue revolves around a question on the visa application regarding whether the individual has been a drug user. In his memoir Spare, Prince Harry openly discusses his past use of substances such as cocaine, marijuana, and mushrooms, which leads to speculation about how he answered this question on the visa form. The underlying concern is whether he may have lied on his application by denying his past drug use, despite having admitted to it in his book. If it's determined that he did lie, some wonder whether this could be grounds for deportation. The question of what constitutes a drug user in the context of the visa application is also central to the issue. Does it refer to someone who is addicted to drugs, someone who uses them occasionally, or is it a broader classification? The vagueness of the language in the application leaves much open to interpretation. Even if it were proven that Harry lied on his application, the debate remains whether it will be significant enough to warrant legal action. Some argue that this situation may be more about public perception and political motivations than any real legal concern. The situation may also have personal motivations behind it. There are those who believe that the controversy isn't so much about Harry himself, but rather about his wife, Meghan Markle. Former President Donald Trump has been very vocal about his dislike for Meghan, and it seems there is some animosity between them. Given this, some speculate that the scrutiny surrounding Harry's visa application might be more about getting back at Meghan than about Harry's immigration status or the truthfulness of his statements. This adds a layer of complexity to the situation, suggesting that a controversy may be driven more by personal vendettas than by legitimate legal concerns. The entire situation, in the end, could very well be an example of the ongoing cultural and political wars that continue to dominate public discourse.
I think the whole thing.
No, I hear what you're saying, but if you do it to Harry, then all right, are we going to go through everyone's
visa applications, and we're going to...
Are you singling him out?
Oh, clearly we are singling him out. No question about it. We are looking into him specifically because of negative things he said about the president.
It feels like, there's a concept in the law called selective prosecution. And if they go to court to deport him, it seems to me that's on the table, Jason.
I have no idea.
The question arises, if they're going after Harry's visa application, does this mean everyone's visa applications will be scrutinized? Are they singling him out? The answer seems clear. Yes, they are targeting him specifically, and this appears to be driven by the negative comments he's made about the president. This situation feels like an example of selective prosecution, where legal actions are taken against someone based on personal or political reasons rather than legal merit. If the case goes to court and they push for his deportation, this issue of selective targeting could become a significant factor in the proceedings, raising questions about fairness and political motivation behind the legal actions.
I have no idea whether or not people who are facing deportation are subject to have a grounds to say selective prosecution. It is weird, though. He has an American wife and American children living in this country. The idea that we are based on a failure to tell the truth about drug use in your past, you are somehow going to be deported and not be able to have contact with your children is just bananas.